Nikki Haley, I saw her throw her hat into the race, and I almost immediately counted her out. I said, this is somebody who is known for being the governor of South Carolina and being an ambassador. She does have some national name recognition, but not nearly anything on the level of Donald Trump. And much of her time in the national spotlight has been assisting Donald Trump as the ambassador to the United Nations under him, where she tried to prove her foreign policy chops. Foreign policy chops she's trying now to use, and the experience she gained under Trump she's trying to use as a justification to run against Trump. It's always weird when former staffers that was part of an administration run against the person who's, was the administration that they were under, right? It'd be like Kamala Harris running against Joe Biden going into 2024, or Mike Pence running against Donald Trump. He already dropped out, by the way. Anyway, I didn't give her much weight. I didn't give her much weight for a few reasons. I didn't give her much weight because I thought, that type of Republican seems to be on the way out much more than it is on the way in, that she feels like a Republican of a different era, that Trump still has a strong stranglehold on the party. And even if she is a decent candidate, and if Donald Trump wasn't there and it was Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, and the rest of them, she would have a decent chance. Donald Trump being the front runner stunts any opportunity for her to be the presidential nominee for the Republicans. He's up 20, 30, 40 points. It's impossible. It is what it is. That's how I've approached this primary so far. But as of right now, the polling for Nikki Haley in some of the first primary states like New Hampshire is so good. It's probably the best polling data for any opponent of Donald Trump that since Ron DeSantis originally threw his hat in the race and was down to Trump by like 12, 13 points. So we're seeing a massive shift in momentum towards Nikki Haley, which is seeing her usurp Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis in these early primary states and being the second option and not being that far away from Trump. And this is getting to a point where Donald Trump is taking notice, and he is concerned, whether he says it or not. I'm gonna tell you how I know he's concerned. But let's look at some of the polling data. Now, these are two polls. There have been 3 polls that have reiterated data somewhat similar to this. So I didn't want to say anything when the first poll came out a day or two ago, because I was like, okay, it's one poll. One poll could be, it could be outside of the medium here. It could be an error. It doesn't prove it. But then we had a second poll and then a third poll. Let's go through some of these. This is from MSNBC. Okay, Libcuck News. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is soaring in New Hampshire. A new St. Anselm College survey shows Haley with 30% support among likely Republican primary voters in the state, trailing former President Donald Trump by 14 points. The poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 3 percentage points. That's double the level of support Haley had in the same poll 3 months ago, and the closest any candidate has gotten to Trump in the state. So when it comes to New Hampshire and it comes to these early primary states, this is the best anyone has performed against Donald Trump. So putting aside that the early Ron numbers and comparing it to that, this is an early primary state. New Hampshire is one of the first states that Republicans vote on. So even if Nikki Haley is down in, say, I don't know, like Alabama and Colorado, I mean, according to a certain court case, maybe that doesn't matter, but is down in all these other states, but she wins in New Hampshire as an early state, that can build momentum and can lead to her getting much larger margins in other states that she was not performing as well in. Say like, I don't know, New York or whatever it would be. That could be a path to victory Haley could choose to pursue. In fact, I think the most recent example of somebody who tried something similar to this or was trying to go down that path would be Pete Buttigieg when he won the first Iowa caucus as a breakout candidate. And then all of a sudden in the New Hampshire polling, which was the next primary after Iowa, Pete Buttigieg jumped in support by like 12 points. And so if you're Nikki Haley and you perform well in in New Hampshire, and then you go to your home state of South Carolina and you perform well there, that can give you a certain amount of momentum. Let's go look at another poll. This isn't the only one. Here's another poll. This is from Fox. Nikki Haley closes to within 4. Let me say that again. Nikki Haley closes to within 4 percentage points of Trump in surprise New Hampshire poll of likely New Hampshire Republican primary voters. 29 support Haley and 33 support Trump. Interesting thing about this poll, by the way, Chris Christie was at 13%. I do not know how Chris Christie could possibly poll higher. I'm surprised he's gotten as far as he did in this poll. So the order, according to this poll, is Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, Chris Christie. Now, I've seen a few people throwing out there like, man, that's interesting. So Nikki Haley at 33, Trump at 33, Nikki Haley 29, Chris Christie 13. If Chris Christie drops out, I do want to throw a few things out there. Number one, just because Chris Christie drops out doesn't mean all of his supporters go to Nikki Haley. Some of them might go to Ron DeSantis. Some of them might go to other people. Who knows? Probably, though, out of the field, Nikki Haley would be the next choice. But Nikki Haley was the UN ambassador under Donald Trump. Nikki Haley, when he asked, hey, are you guys all going to vote for Donald Trump even if he's a convicted felon? She was one of them who meekly raised her hand because she wants to have that avenue of negotiations open up with the Trump administration, either because she wants to be part of the administration or she wants to be able to get his support going into 2024. Because if Donald Trump loses, I don't think it's impossible that he just says, you know what, I quit. This election's rigged. Everybody who supports me, stay home. I could imagine him doing something like that. And for that reason, since Chris Christie is kind of like acting as a torpedo against Donald Trump, I'm hesitant to immediately expect him to drop out and endorse Nikki Haley because there's an avenue there, even if that would make her chances of beating Donald Trump and stopping him from being the nominee more successful, both for the reason that he has disagreements with her when it comes to how she has interacted with Trump, and also it possibly doesn't serve his own interests because he could have other reasons from promoting himself for running for president of the United States. Who knows for sure, but she could not be up to the standard necessary for his endorsement when it comes to quote unquote standing up to Trump. He's a kamikaze campaign. Hey, I remember as a Bernie supporter being super frustrated when we were getting really close against the Biden campaign going into South Carolina and Elizabeth Warren wouldn't drop out and endorse us. But there were other factors at play that we didn't even know publicly at the time about negotiations that were going on. Anyway, this isn't the only polling that has been published that points in this direction. These are just 2 polls. There are other polls which are reflecting the same thing in New Hampshire, which has caused some concern. I would imagine, though, out of everybody who's concerned in Trump's inner circle, and in the MAGA base that really doesn't like Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, somebody responded to my tweet about this and said, this is Vivek Ramaswamy right now on needing a wellness check, honestly.
You don't understand why you doing this, bro. I've been doing shit all day, bro. And you love you no matter what, bro. I don't... Bro, please, bro. Why
now,
you do...
The story that somebody reposted this in response to isn't just that Nikki Haley is polling really well. Somebody posted this in response to this story, which I think it fits perfect. Trump asking allies about the possibility of Nikki Haley for vice president of the United States of America. Let me say that again for the MAGA boys in the back. Trump asking allies about the possibility of Nikki Haley for vice president. Now, man, there's so much I could say about this that's got me giddy. So the first thing is somebody got to put Vivek Ramaswamy into a wellness and give him a wellness check. Somebody's got to put him on the watch, maybe make sure that the forks and spoons and knives you hand them in the next 24 to 48 hours are plastic, not metal. I'm just saying, mental health is a real issue in this country. We need to look after it. Okay, so that's the first thing. After all the bootlicking, after all the laying down to be walked over, after calling him the best president in American history, all this stuff, everything he can to suck up to him. And ultimately, political reality slacks the Silicon con man across the face. Welcome to politics, Vivek. Anyway, it isn't over yet. Just taking a little pleasure out of it. So, the first thing I want to throw out there is that for the people who don't like Nikki Haley because of her ties to the conservative establishment, because of her more traditionally conservative Reaganite foreign policy beliefs, right? I do want to throw this out there. I talk to Trump supporters sometime. I mean, diehard Trump supporters who are Trump supporters all the way. Rob Noor is an example of this. Other Trump supporters I've talked to. And when I asked them about, look, you guys had your 4 years in office. What did Trump do? Trump didn't do this. Trump didn't do that. Trump promised all this, didn't do that. Trump said he was going to do this, and then he backtracked and did the opposite. Julian Assange this, Julian Assange that. Well, where's all these accomplishments that we expected from Trump? And one of the main lines I would get back was almost it felt like the antithesis to a defense for Trump in the days leading up to him becoming president, which is Trump was surrounded by people in the swamp. If he's just, if he goes in this time he's going to pick the right people and he's going to be able to get his job done for real. Unlike last time when he was stopped by those people in the swamp, like Jeff Sessions, like Rex Tillerson, like John Bolton, like Bill, I was about to say Bill Maher, but not Bill Burr. What's his name? DOJ head. Any number of people in the Trump administration. Yeah, Bill Barr. All these different officials and swamp creatures stop Trump. Next time, he'll be better. Even though in the lead up to the Trump administration, what we were told was, don't worry, everybody who's worried about this man with a large ego, who's extremely impulsive, has no impulse control, and makes plans on an ad hoc basis, being president of the United States. And what we were told was, don't worry, he's going to be surrounded by professionals, he's going to be surrounded by experts, and they're going to drag him in, they're going to reel him in. In fact, a lot of people explaining their Trump vote, when looking at these facts about Trump, saying crazy things like, bomb the families of terrorists, and yada yada. The logic a lot of times would be, oh no, he'll have people reeling him in. Where now the argument for Trump is, he needs no one to reel him in. Just go, 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 go. But if he gets reelected, and then he has Nikki Haley as vice president of the United States, and they have the people around Nikki Haley start filling the administration, she starts suggesting people for national security advisor. And it wouldn't be that hard to imagine not necessarily getting John Bolton back for national security advisor, but getting somebody like John Bolton back for national security advisor. So I just want to throw something out there. Deep down in Trump's soul, and now this is me speculating, deep down in Trump's soul, he's always wanted to be part of the elite in New York, the financial elite, the diplomatic, the political elite. He wanted to be with the big boys. He wanted to be with the big men. And now that he's getting his opportunity to do that again in 2024, it looks like he's willing to compromise in order to be part of that elite again, to be big man again, to get the attention, to get the power, to get the influence, to get the money. Now it seems like he's willing to compromise on that, oh no, this time we're not going with the swamp. But, we'll take the swamp a few more times. We'll put them in our administration when necessary in order to make sure that I'm president with all these legal problems come turning its ugly head around. Man, doesn't that remind you of Netanyahu? Anyway, Trump is suggesting Nikki Haley for vice president in private meetings with people in his administration. Which I think shows pretty clearly that he sees the polling data. He sees how she's performing in the presidential debates, doing much better than anybody could have expected. He's seen his UN ambassador transform into a national political figure outside of the region of South Carolina, but to the national landscape. And she is a month and a half out from the process really starting. She is starting to mount herself to a real oppositional figure to Donald Trump, not just based in, hey, I'm a new name, I just announced, look at me, quick jump in the polls, like happened for Elizabeth Warren, like happened for Ron DeSantis. This is her over time building up support, having her moment, like Warren had her moment, not when she originally announced, but when she built up support during the campaign. There are campaigns that do that. This could be Nikki Haley's moment, whether she capitalizes on it and becomes a nominee, whether she semi-capitalizes on it and becomes vice president of the United States, which, by the way, many people, for the swamp reasons I was giving earlier, in the Trump circle are scared of this scenario, and they're doing their best to try to convince Trump, no, don't go with Nikki Haley. Don't go with Nikki Haley. Go with my shady friend over here who's totally not involved in some criminal. Go with this guy. Go with that guy. Go with this guy. Don't go with Nikki Haley. The people around him are very scared about Trump making that sort of a, as I guess you could say, political and maybe even like cultural compromise with the quote unquote rhinos. But if things keep going, if Nikki Haley keeps with that momentum, Trump might be willing to offer a compromise. Whether Nikki Haley would be willing to accept it, I don't know.